Hello, everyone. It is February the 3rd of 2026, and I am Nick, and this is Quinn, and this is Weekly Manga Recap, where we talk about manga in a recappy way weekly. So, how's everyone doing today?
This is us pausing to wait for the audience to respond.
Yeah, hang on, they're all filtering in. All right. Now, Quinn, how are you doing?
Okay, yeah, doing good, actually. No, I shouldn't say no. That's going to make people worried. I'm just busy, Nick. It's just a lot of schoolwork and work, and this stupid thing I'm doing called taking care of yourself, where I'm like exercising every day and nonsense like that. It's awful. But it has made, unfortunately, indisputable improvements in my life. So I think I had to keep doing it, and that sucks. I would really just prefer to curl into bed all day, every day.
Oh, yeah.
But
especially up where you are, I'm sure. So
it's finally, Nick, we've had snow last week that was like, I would say we probably got like 1.5 feet. It hasn't warmed up above freezing since then. So there's just snow everywhere, mountains of it. And it's
just sitting there.
And it's so annoying. Yeah, and it won't go anywhere for like another week. And it's so annoying. I can't even like pretend like I would take a walk anywhere because I just know there's nowhere I could walk at this point. And that's just the reality of things for a little bit. It's not fun.
They actually sent out like a couple of advisories related to cold down here. Like there was even like a thing that was sent out like, hey guys, you know, like everyone's heat running and stuff causes like strain on the power grid and everything. So like, you know, if we're kind of like trying to declare like, you know, if you can do like low power usage between like, you know, 5 and 9 a.m. on like, you know, the coldest day this week. And it was like, this is weird. Like I live in Florida where it does not freeze. I think that it's more a matter of like, it's an unexpectedly long cold front to this degree.
Yes.
Because it has not gotten too freezing, but it's gotten close. So yeah, it's been weird. And now we're getting these ads because I just found out through these ads of that the power companies are putting out saying like, we can't make the government take over the power grid. That'd be bad and stuff. And it's like, all right, well, I guess I know it's what it's gonna be on the voting block next election. So.
Yeah, not surprised on that. In a slightly related tangent to the way the world is right now, I have a math course this semester, and
Sweet.
One of my assignments in it, Nick, I need to stress, this is not an optional thing. This is part of my grade.
Okay.
Every week, we have to use an AI tutor 10 times.
Oh, why?
And I cannot stress how shady...
Guys, you want to learn how to do something? Have this thing that thinks for you do it instead. Come on, guys. What is the world coming to?
It's supposed to be like, hey, it'll walk you through the process. Like, it won't just say like solve this problem. It'll be like, hey, here's the equation. What should I do? That kind of thing. But you have to like interact with it like 10 times in a week. And I'm really kind of curious if I can like, if I get through the math without any issue, can I just be like, how's your day? What color's up? Eat shit and die. And be like, those are my interactions. But the other thing about this website that is particularly interesting, beyond the fact it has an AI, is that every time we use the AI, we earn points, and those points can then be exchanged for like Amazon gift cards. And I'm like, why does this feel so shady? And again, to be clear, this is graded. This is part of my grade. Like, if I do not do this, I will get a lower grade as a result.
There's got to be some sort of like referral link that your professor has or something like that.
There's one at the top of the page for me. I'll say that right now. I can earn more points if I invite more students to this. And I was like, is this just a way to get...
There's some sort of side hustle going on here.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I hate people. All right. Shall we talk about Ichi the Witch?
Shall we?
All right. It's 68th Hunt, The Ebb and Flow of the Waves, where we get an introduction to little Minerva when she was young, where she was part of this small village, and it was like a nice place. Oh, nothing special about it. Oh, wait, every 50 years they make a human sacrifice, and she's the lucky girl. Oh, dear. And it's really weird the way that they're talking to her about it, because there's this old woman who's like, "We're so sorry, Minerva. You're the only young woman with no family or set job. We need you to be the sacrificed. Get in this log."
Get in the tube, Gingy or Shinji.
Turns out that it's the thing that we thought might be like a baby carriage, a treasure chest. It's an Utsurobune.
That was actually my second guess after
Yeah.
baby carriage. I was like, or it could be an utsubune or whatever it's called.
It's basically it's a specialized thing that can, once it's sealed, it can only be unlocked from the outside. It is specially made so that they can send out a human sacrifice to the god of the sea that they want to, like not kill their village. And so when it comes across Chrono's ship, that's why he opened it up. That happens. She's like dehydrated and hungry when she comes out. So Chrono's like, enough of this, rewind. It just makes her better. I don't want to deal with this.
Now, Nick, I have a very important question. What age is Minerva supposed to be in this flashback? I know, but
don't ask questions you don't know what the answer to. She is a young woman. So,
this is gonna flashbang me when they're like, actually, Pudding was only like 15 when her and Sachi were together. I'm like, I don't. Why is this detail here?
It seems as though she may be a young teenager, given the fact that, like, she's wearing like a full dress and her limbs are like, long and stuff. She looks a lot younger when she's all messy when she first shows up.
It's funny because now I don't know how old, because the flashback eventually ends with her getting pregnant and no time is like really established to have specifically passed. So in my mind, I'm like, wait, has she always just been like 16 years old? Like what? Or is she like, or like where they were like, I don't know, you're like mid-20s, you don't have anything going on, get in the tube.
They're really just like, when's that old hag gonna get married? She's already 19. Come on.
Her prime baby making days are behind her. But as far as we know, we're not scientists.
Oh, but she's never gonna have a kid that could cause incredible complications for everyone. So Minerva, upon realizing who Chrono is like, oh, I'm the sacrifice from the village and stuff. Are you going to like eat me in order to calm the seas? And Chrono just looks at her like, oh, God damn it, with this fucking humans and their stupid bullshit. That's a great reaction face that he makes, honestly. And Chrono was just like, I'll just drop you off at a harbor when I get the chance. And he knows that like it would be a really big problem if Kizashi came by while she was around. And he refers to Kizashi as a pest with a habit of popping in out of nowhere and annoying me. Your friend.
My best bud.
So, which Minerva kind of grabs onto right away. Like literally, he's so annoying. And Minerva's like, I wonder if that's his friend. And Chrono even thinks like, I guess I could like even rewind time to the point your village sent you here, but that'd be a lot. I guess there's a lot of a lot to take variables to take into account. So this is all kind of like over Minerva's head, but she starts to get this idea of like, oh, he's not like a god. He's, got these very, very kind of mundane things to worry about. But of course, Minerva is, stuck on the ship for the time being. So she starts just like cleaning up because she's like, I'm just going to like earn my keep while I'm doing this. And Chrono's like, look, I don't care. I don't care if the ship is a mess. Like, you don't need to do this. Well, doesn't the clean room make you feel happy? No. He's just like me for real.
He's just like, why would I give a shit?
And like she offers to like cook for him, and he's like, I don't eat. So eventually, however, he brings to the point of like, you're just like really taking all this in stride, and because she brings up the village again, he says, do you not hate your village? They sacrificed you. Don't you hate them for that? And Minerva says, well, it's not like I don't have any hard feelings. I was really upset when they chose me. I cried like, I don't want to die. Why me? But I knew if I ran away, they would pick someone else. So after crying and thinking about it, I had this moment because I was, sitting on the beach, and I saw this leaf washed in on a wave and then flow right back out to sea. I realized, like, hey, almost everyone in the village just dies in the village. And I at least have this opportunity to leave the village. I could die out on the vast sea. And it made me think about how, like, I could potentially go somewhere that no one had even been before. It seemed like a big opportunity. And yeah, I'm over it. I'm fine. Like, I don't bear any resentment. Life's too short to waste on hatred. And this clearly, like, even though he doesn't react much in the moment, has an impact on Chrono. And get a little montage of them spending time together, including a very cute moment where, like, he's just like helping her get stuff off of the really high shelves. Because it makes you realize, like, oh, you're literally twice her height.
She herself is already a very short woman, and you are a very tall magic, so it just increases the difference between the two of them.
What a shoujo boyfriend, seriously. So it gets to a point where, it's like, oh, Minerva's like set to get into the harbor. Their ship has like gone close to land, and so Minerva starts to say, like, yeah, this was a lot of fun. And Chrono asks what she's planning to do, if she's going to go back home. And then she's like, yeah, I'll make it on my own. I'll be all right. And then she starts to sniffle and everything. And she's like, I know you don't like need me to be around, but I'll try not to bother you. Can I just stay here with you? And Chrono just says, you finally cried. And that's just kind of it. Like, there's no big speech or anything. Like, just like, doesn't even say, yeah, you can stay. He just turns and goes back into his ship and just lets her stay there. And that's just it. I think he just kind of like wanted to like understand her emotions better, essentially.
I think it's also him seeing that all the big speech she gave before about like life's too short, don't waste it on hatred. You could see that it was a little bit of a defense for her, because she is actually pretty upset about things, and she doesn't want to have to return to her old life. She likes this now. And I think kind of seeing that was like him being like, you finally let that out.
And then we get a moment where he comes to her and he's just got a little handful of dirt. She's like, what is this? And he says, watch. And he uses his reverse powers or his fast forwarding powers to make a flower bloom directly from the dirt. I was like, oh man, that's a fucking good, smooth move, dude. Come on. And so he says, like, yeah, the season's not right for the flower, but that doesn't really matter to me. And Minerva asks, like, why did you go all this way just to get one for me? And he says, because I thought it'd make you happy. Oh.
That's all she needed, by the way. She's like, all right. Yeah.
Well, because he blushes big time, and she blushes, and she pulls him down and gives him a big old kiss on the mouth. And we get this moment of Minerva reflecting on their relationship, about how, he feels cool to the touch. And she says, I love how you can be a worrywart. I love how big your hands are. And I've never thought to myself, I wish you were human. You could be any creature in the world, and I'd love you all the same. You happened to be a magic when you found me, and that's all. To me, you're special, my one and only beloved. And oh yeah, in the present, she's dying. Oh, right. So as she's bleeding out and she's hugging her stomach, she's apologizes to Chrono and says, "I'm sorry that I couldn't protect our baby." And then things stop and the blood starts to fly back into Minerva's body and
Childbirth is an incredible
poos.
thing. When the blood starts going back into them afterwards, it's one of the most chaotic parts of giving birth, but, you know, significant in its own
Yeah,
way.
when all the
Beautiful in its own way.
when the placenta just goes right back in, man.
When everything just kind of slurps back inside, yeah.
Pooh's claw comes out of her, and of course we see that a circle of Chrono's power has surrounded the entire battle site. And he says from miles away, "That outcome I will not abide. Rewind." And he says, even if I have to rewrite the laws of the world, if I have to destroy myself in the process, I will permit no timeline where many no longer exists. And he's looking very different all of a sudden. A whole ton of feathers springing up all over him, including like down his face. And that is where the chapter ends.
Yeah, as mentioned, it's not like a huge surprise that the guy with all the time magic can rewind someone's death happening. But as mentioned earlier in this chapter, he can't just do that without a consequence to it. That there is some, tremendous expenditure that has to happen for him to rewrite something on that level. And it feels like that's the direction we're going to be moving to, is that he might potentially be just overexerting his power in the process of this. So, we're going to, I guess, kind of see. I am, at this point, though, super excited for when we get to the Ichi wakes up and starts fighting Kizashi moment. Like, because we know that's coming up sometime soon. But until we get there, I'm just, like, waiting for that moment to happen.
Yeah. And like you said, it seemed like an obvious decision. Like, okay, well, something will happen. They've got someone who can read potential futures, and they've got someone who can manipulate time. There's going to be something so that the pregnant woman's not going to just be horribly butchered in this series for kids.
This isn't Chainsaw Man.
Right. It was nice to have that context in the flashback provided of like, hey, just to really, really, really punch it home how much these two care for each other in order to get that.
Definitely.
Okay. Blue Box. Chapter 228. Going forward. Last time Taiki said that he really wanted to work towards being best friends with Hina again. And she was trying to take it well too. We get a little bit of context apparently that went to Taiki's decision, which was a conversation he had with Kyo earlier on about how the foundation of human relationship is respect, which was why he decided to just be upfront and honest with Hina. Hina is quiet for a bit, and then she goes, "Oh, so this is it, huh?" And Taiki's like, "What are you talking like a spy who's been cornered right now?" But she says, like, after everything I've done, the fact that you're being this way just really shows like you are a really big softie, Taiki. And it's like, I do get that. It's like the fact that all this stuff has happened between them, and he's still just like, I want to keep on being your best friend. It's like, yeah, he's got that very soft core. And then she says, like, yeah, that was my last desperate attack. And Taiki's still on this cornered spy thing, and he imagines cornered spy Hina being like, oh, so like when you make your last stand and you're going down everybody around you. Very weird. Hina apologizes. She says, I did something awful to you and Chinatsu-senpai. Which, I mean, yeah, that was kind of an uncool thing that you did. And Taiki says this in the most loser way possible. Just, you should refrain from doing things that would make me lose respect I have for you. What the hell is that? He does make a good point about like, you shouldn't touch people without their consent. And he's right, yes, but it's so weird. It was such a weirdly worded scolding that he gives her. Taiki reflects on how he didn't feel like he could say the thing that he did to Hina before because it would feel like he was dismissing her feelings for him, which I kind of get. But he's also like, okay, the way for us to go forward and make things right now is to do it like this. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Hina says like, hey, look, I like enjoyed having a crush on you. Like even when I got rejected and you got a girlfriend, I was still happy getting to be around you. And she says, even though like I knew better, like that you weren't doing it to like make me feel better as a woman, you would still cheer me up. And then she springs up from the bench and she says, but now it's over. I'm going to take these feelings and I'm going to bury them in a box underground and cover it in dirt. That way I'll be free to spread my wings.
I hope you're right this time, Hina.
I hope I am concerned by your choice in this visual metaphor.
I'm just going to bury my feelings as deep down as possible, and that's the healthy way to deal with them, correct?
And then one day I'll die. But she says that, yeah, I'm just going to like move ahead from this point. I'm going to spread my wings. I'm going to excel in gymnastics. And I get myself a hunky musclehead boyfriend. All right. And I'll eat sweets in France. And then she turns to Taiki and says, so thank you for everything. And we get this big old montage of all these moments that Hina and Taiki have shared together in the course of like Hina trying to like be a pick-me girl for Taiki. And then she also agrees, let's be best friends again. Kyo comes back. They get their bikes. They leave to go home. Hina splits off from them first, and she does like a callback to when they were playing the word game before. And everyone's like, we're not playing that. And so she just says, leaves. Eclairs, and nobody else takes her up on it. Hina, as she rides off, thinks about her life is like a river because it bends and it twists and brings me from one person to the next. And as she rides along, she sees Nina, some of their friends, and Haruto is with them. And she kind of meets eyes with Haruto, and Nina's like talking to her about stuff. And says, "Oh, Haruto's going to be in the prefectural tournament. Did you hear?" And he says to her like, "Hey, you're welcome to cheer me on." Nope, not going. So she is still like, no, don't care about you. No.
I bury all my feelings deep down in a box beneath the earth that won't go away until I die. And he's like, what does that mean?
That's hot.
I love that about you.
Kyo and Taiki go to part ways again. They have come to that same path from their flashback where they diverge.
It's so funny because I didn't think Taiki was literally thinking of an actual crossroads he and his friend usually go to where they go their own ways. I was like, wow, that's like a nice metaphor for like how you live your life. And he's like, no, there's a little crossroads where we both have to take our own path.
This one leads to Viridian City, and this one leads back to Pewter City, and you got Kyo jumps back and forth between the paths, but he has to go through the tall grass between them, so sometimes he gets attacked by wild Pokemon.
That's why his level's a little bit higher, but he's always playing the type advantage wrong, which is why Taiki usually beats him.
I think it would be the other way around, actually, given they're two. No, okay.
No. Nick, please. Pokemon.
So as they go off, I do like how Kyoho brings up like, you know, that situation between you guys made things really awkward for me. So
he's like, you know, I just had to like wait off to the side and make up something about like getting cakes for my siblings while you guys hash this out, right?
This has been really weird for our best friend group of 3 people when 2 of them have this whole soap opera drama between them, and I just have to go over here.
In Taiki's defense, though, I don't really know if he should be blamed for this one. He had kind of made his thoughts very clear. And then she, like, this is really like a thing to chide her with, but, you know,
But
she's
how
not
about
there.
now? So after they leave off from each other, Kyo comes across Ayame, who is clearly looking around for him around his apartment, and is like, "I just happened to be here. This is just a coincidence. I was just passing through." And Kyo's just
Don't
like,
read
"All right,
into
what do you want?"
this.
Yeah. And she's like, "Well, look, my older sister had these tickets to go to a theme park. She's got like 3 or 4 tickets, which is like, I thought, like you and your siblings might like to go, and it's like, good job in the tournament and stuff. And I've got 4, so I just came to deliver them because you could go as a family and stuff." And Kyo says like, "Oh, with my siblings? Yeah. Why? Let's go together." Just boom. Like, I'm through with all this shit. I'm done. I saw how stupid Hina and Taiki were being.
What a dramatically significant day this has been. Every character on their way home is like running into their significant other for an extension of their like relationship, whatever level it's in, basically. I'm like, wow, what a very like fortuitous and like significant ride home for all these characters.
Yeah, Taiki goes home, like, and as he gets there, he sees that Chinatsu is waiting for him, and we get this narration as like the chapter winds down from Taiki's perspective, that life is full of junctures, and with each one we grow stronger. One such juncture, having experienced pain and grown stronger through it, I'll be living out my future from now on.
Yep, it's a good chapter. Honestly, almost felt like fitting, like as a conclusion to the series.
Yeah,
There was a
Blue
little
Box
bit.
has had a couple of those.
Yeah, a little bit of that energy recently, which makes sense. Blue Box has made it clear that it's in sort of its final act. It's not going to continue on past Taiki's last year in high school, and he's got like 4 months left at this point, something like that. So,
It's relatively early in the school year, but it's getting there.
isn't it winter at this point? No, that's when the basketball tournament was.
Yeah.
Badminton nationals were earlier. So, yeah, we will see. Still got a little bit left, but I imagine the rest of it might fly by, especially once nationals concludes. Like, there won't be a lot of story left to tell. So.
Oh boy. It's Chainsaw Man! Chapter 228, Dove. Or is it Dove? It's Dove. It's Dove.
I'm going to argue that it's Dove because Fujimoto likes to be ironic. And he's like, I know there's a dove in the chapter, but it's actually about how she dove that chainsaw bike across that dude halfway through the chapter.
Quinn, quick, fly like the dove.
I've only ever read it. I never knew it how it could be spelled and said.
Last time, Chainsaw Denji Pochita managed to defeat the Locust Devil, but got the crap knocked out of him, and then Yoru shot him a bunch. So he's not doing so good. Like, as in entrails flowing out of him, all his limbs are gone. So to try and do something, he shoots a chain out of one of his stumps, wraps around a signpost, and drags himself away. Yoru is just like, all right, looking kind of bored, and races after him on a chainsaw motorcycle. And which I think that, I'm not sure exactly, this is the same chainsaw motorcycle from way back, isn't it? But she chases after him, and there's just some random guy who is just recovering from getting his legs back, and just gets, he looks so put off by like, being bisected. Why?
I just got them back.
Like, I know that they can't die right now, but he looks so annoyed.
Rude. Turn signals are helpful, ma'am.
Denji gets knocked into a pile of rubble. He is not looking good. He's trying to drag himself by one arm, realizes like, God, I need blood, and so his only solution for this is they can think of is to vomit up a devil that he can then eat the blood of. I don't know if that's a very efficient means of solving the problem, but that's the solution that he seems to come up with, because he reaches in and he forces himself to vomit as Yoru is flying towards him on the motorcycle, saying, "I'm gonna tear you to shreds." And then Denji coughs up a dove, the dove devil, presumably, or is it that bird that he killed way back before this fight even started, the one that was summoned by Lil D, maybe.
The guillotine devil.
Yeah, or whatever you would call it, Gyugi, whatever.
Yeah.
Biora suddenly has a flashback, Quinn, to the first chapter of this part, when what was it, Bucky? Was that their name?
I believe that was Bucky. Good memory.
The chicken devil, how Asa accidentally killed it and its guts spilled out. So she suddenly flashes back to that, and she desperately swerves the bike, goes careening off course, and crashes, and is thrown from the bike, lands in a pile of her own blood, and she's not looking good. She's like, why is my wound not healing? And Denji realizes that it's because her contract was that the Americans would take attacks against her. But this is a self-inflicted injury caused by an accident. So Yoru is lying there, not doing good. Asa appears to her and says, "Why'd you avoid that dove?" And Yoru pauses and says, "Because you hate it when birds are killed."
It's an interesting way to do this. It's very funny because it would be wild if all these crazy things are happening and the way Yoru dies is because she crashed into a wall. Like she's just I can fucked up my head and I'm not just cracked my skull and I'm dying now. But I like the concept of this idea of even deep down Yoru on this level did have some affection for Asa, and that is kind of what, turned the tides in this whole fight. It's just so hard to tell because Chainsaw Man's pacing has been so over the place that who knows? She could wake up next week and then they start throwing states at each other again or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know quite yet, but I do like this idea that this is how they solve the scenario, is that she ends up hurting herself. She done something that ended up injuring herself, and that's the loophole to everything. Is a good way to get around all this. Oh, she's otherwise immortal, and this fight's gonna go on forever because there's no death.
Yeah, because Denji's, of course, whole thing was just trying to convince her, well, there's no way that you're going to end up in a world that you like, and so it seems as though okay. Unless he literally just now vomits up Lil D, she's not going to die. So there is a chance, there is an opening here to come to an understanding then. But as ever, Chainsaw Man remains very difficult to predict because it just goes every direction in every single chapter. We'll see what happens next time, I guess.
Indeed. Exciting chapter, though. Fun times. And now it's Spy Family, Nick.
Yeah, we're finally on another mission, Quinn. No more parts 1, 2. This is just mission 128. That's it. It's a fresh chapter. Okay. Looks like there is a Downton Abbey or whatever in this world. Dairinki Romance Drama. It's a hit romance 5-year love plan, and so there's all this news about it. Yor ends up with tickets to go to this show because someone that she works with just got them from a client. He says yeah, they're yours if you want because you do such a good job around here. The other girls that she hangs out with at work are getting into her with it. Turns out that one of the girls is dating a guy who is featured on the show. And so Yora's I did watch a little bit of the show, and then my husband walked in on me watching it, and I got embarrassed and turned it off.
No one must know.
Yeah, apparently she like was checking it out because, the other two are such huge fans of it and stuff. And it's suggested by like, her like more understanding, workmate. Maybe she wants to go on a date with her husband, and yours like, go on a date with Lloyd. Oh, and at that moment, Hemlock comes in and says, "Dating, that is the very height of impropriety."
I forgot he works here now. I really thought there was just. I just thought he showed up and was doing his bit with Yor, and I was like, dude, you're supposed to be a secret. You're not supposed to be doing this in public.
Just a random guy just comes in.
Dude, you're secret.
The single girl who works there is like trying to hit on him. And it's like, why don't we go on a date? And she's like talking in the background, like, we go to amusement park, we go to the aquarium. Those are places people visit alone.
I love that he is adamantly like, what are you doing going to an amusement park with someone else? Everyone knows the height of going to an amusement park is sitting alone on every single ride and or being paired up with a stranger. That's the ideal way to experience it.
I mean, like, I would make a joke about him, like, sitting on the spinning teacups by himself, but that's canon.
They did
we
that,
saw
yeah.
that in one of the flashbacks he had. So, on her way home, Yor is thinking about, like, what she's going to do about this, and she's like, oh, God, like, what if he doesn't want to go? What if he's grossed out by the idea? Because, of course, like, as with so many people in this series, she immediately, like, worst-case scenarios it in her head. Yuri happens to be on the train with her, and is like, oh, you've got like tickets or something? I'll go with you.
Happens to be on the train.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what Yor's train schedule is.
And immediately Yor's like, you can't. These are, I'd like to go with Lloyd. What if Yuri's teeth falls out?
It did get a laugh out of me that one of his teeth fell out.
Oh! And so he's like, well, but I thought you told me you hated him. I never said that. Do you love him then? And like, this is so funny because this is a realization she has just come to in her most recent story arc. And she's like, yes, I love him. He's my husband. Yuri turns into a ghost.
He loses all of his teeth.
She's like, all right, I gotta go, Yuri. Keep yourself warm at night. He stays there until the train reaches the end of the line. He doesn't get up. And Yuri's like, I am going to cock block that motherfucker. I am not letting them get close to my sister. Fuck you, Lloyd Forger. Meanwhile, in the Forger household, Anya, it's cute when she decides to be a ninja. It's not nearly as weird as when the college-age Madame Schlag decided to do it. Yeah, she's like doing ninja stuff with all of her Stella Stars. She's using her Stella Stars as toys. So
yeah,
funny.
She's made it clear that she wants to be a pretty Stella Guardian and a nemesis to Lady Denitris. And I'm like, I think it's very adorable. You've created that entire world in your head, minus the Lady Denitris stuff, because we know she believes that. But I don't believe there's ever been established to be an opposing force to her.
Also, she keeps on calling herself Pretty Guardian and stuff. The only cartoons that we have seen Anya watch are Bond Man, like spy stuff. Does she invent magical girl series in this universe?
She might. I mean, like she's using a pretty old television, so like if we're like to do the modern equivalents, then like most of that stuff's not really around quite yet. And also she's in an analog to like Germany, so like I don't know what they got over there. Germans weigh in. Did you guys have like a Pretty Girl Guardian going on in the 60s or anything like that? Tell me about it.
Anime.
Yeah, I assumed that the only like entertainment they had over there was like, oh, we all love the comic book Hansel. It's about Hansel. He goes on adventures all around the world with his talking dog. The dog does not really talk. That would be nonsensical. But it can say Guten Tag and Hello and all those sorts of things. It was very creative and wild for the time. It ran for 48 seasons.
Sometimes it says things like Frankfurter and sauerkraut, but only in like completely nonsensical situations, never dining situations.
That would be inappropriate.
No, that is not the way we do
And
things.
of course, young Hansel works for the Hansel. He has a good job. He has benefits. He does very good work. It is.
Is that like
it
is
is
that like
almost,
important? Is that important background details? It is very important that you know that he does things for the benefit of society.
You
Yes.
need to know that he is Germany's most efficient cartoon character.
That is the quality of good cartoon character. Anyway, Yor brings up like, oh, she's got these tickets to go to this. Anya wants to go as well, and Yor's like, they don't allow minors and they don't allow pets. Sorry. And Lloyd realizes that, oh, we've got like a bunch of celebrities are there. The director has made like propaganda films during the war, so mentally he's like, okay, this is a chance actually to get more leads and connections and all this stuff. So that's why he's into going. Anya asks if they're going to get lovey-dovey on TV, and Lloyd and Yor are both embarrassed by this. They're like, no. We get a brief moment of Yor being very self-conscious about like what she's going to like wear, because like this is her first date with Lloyd while she knows that she's in love with him. So it's like, yeah, makes sense that she would be extra nervous. But she's just like, I'll just wear the usual thing that I wear. It's like, oh, okay.
I love that she's like terribly nervous about what she'll wear, and like the item she has out is just like a slightly more like feminine dress than what she usually wears. And I don't know, it's like cute and also a little sad, like, oh, you're allowed to dress more than that, girl.
It's not an incredibly garish thing, no. It would actually, I'm sure that she would look perfectly like,
Yeah.
good alongside every other audience member there, because a lot of them are just like in casual like clothing basically. We get introduced to the Berlin TV tower, which basically looks like the Needle in Seattle, and its importance and everything. Of course, Yuri just so happens by sheer coincidence to have been invited by a director acquaintance of his to go to the same taping. And he and Lloyd, looking at each other like, and Yuri's like, I'm going to stop this guy. And Lloyd's like, oh, great. Yeah, I'm going to have to worry about this guy because he knows who Yuri actually is. The broadcast starts up while Yor and Lloyd are sitting in the audience. There is a very silly snippet of what the show is about, which is that the female protagonist was in a ration line, and all of her love interests are literally in the line behind her. Oh boy. Yor feels really awkward when they get into like a more romantic scene because she's sitting next to the guy that she's in love with and everything like that. She's like, I'm sorry if you're not enjoying this. And he's like, no, it's fun. It's great. Yeah. And but Yor is reflecting on how like the conversation that she had with, oh God, McMahon. And she thinks like, if only I could play my own role so skillfully. Yeah, then you get to kiss him. Yes, that is what would happen. Correct. Anyway, the funniest moment of the chapter is we cut to the apartment where Frankie is watching Anya, and she's watching the broadcast, that her parents are going to the taping of, and then she's like, "It is boring. Let's watch cartoons."
It doesn't not take her any time at all, and it's a great way to establish that Anya is not going to be aware of the very crazy stuff going on with her parents right now by the end of this chapter.
Yeah, because she can't read their minds while they're over there.
Yeah.
Sure. And then
now this is interesting though, Nick. We didn't think about this. We had to really consider this. Anya says, I'm going to switch to the cartoon channel. This implies that Cartoon Network existed back then.
That's right.
So we're really building out this sort of anachronistic alternate timeline that this all takes place in. So,
guys, there wasn't an alt cartoon channel until the early 90s, don't you know?
Oh my gosh, it took so long to get there. So this is, maybe put this, keep this in mind when you make your theory video about the weird timeline, the alternate timeline that this all takes place in. This could be an important little bullet point in your YouTube video.
That is absolutely one of the things that, like, when I think about like the exact timing of when it happened, I was like, what, really? That was like not always around, and literally it came into existence right before I was like capable of conscious thoughts. I thought it was just always a
You're
thing.
like, they've just always had a cartoon channel, and that no, my mom took every opportunity she could to be like, there were only 3 channels, and sometimes you just watched Catholic Mass. It was the best of all 3 options.
They take a break during all the taping and let people go, walk around for a bit. Lloyd is being followed by Yuri. He is fully aware of this, and so he's like, okay, I got to make sure I don't draw suspicion to myself, because he's already suspected me of being Twilight once. Meanwhile, Yuri just like, keep on walking back to your home, toilet boy. My sister isn't enjoying herself at all. How could she be? He's so weird.
I like the nickname Toilet Boy, because Lloyd is going to the bathroom. Like, all right.
Look at you. Look at you having bodily functions.
Look at you needing to relieve your bladder at some point, you pathetic worm. Get away from my sister.
Yuri, 4 hours ago, you didn't have teeth. Shut the fuck up. Yor is also kind of stressing over the whole thing now that Yuri has shown up. So good job ruining it for your sister, buddy. Lloyd notices that there are some crew members who are like, talking about like, some weird stuff about how like, oh, there's like no stage settings in some area. Like there's some confusion going on between them, it seems. And then when one of them goes into an elevator, a whole bunch more stagehands show up, not looking suspicious at all.
Nope. This is how people usually look, dead-eyed and like sometimes glaring in the opposite directions of one another. Yeah. All right,
hey,
I'd prefer you to stop doing this because it's unnerving for me.
The program resumes. Lloyd gets back in his seat, and they say like, "All right, so we're going to like have a little quiz show time. Our studio audience can participate and stuff." And then someone comes up to one of the presenters, and she's like, "All right, here's the thing for the quiz," and he just points a gun at her head. And wouldn't you know it, the whole broadcast is being hijacked. We don't get really any indication of exactly who all these people really are, but they take out guns, and one of them grabs the microphone and says, "This is an emergency broadcast of a brief airing of grievances." So it seems as though Lloyd and Yor and Yuri are having their own hijacking plot the same way that Anya and her classmates did.
Yeah, I mean, Anya can't have all the fun of being held hostage. That should be shared amongst the family, the spy family, some would even say.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited to see a new plot. I'm not excited for Yuri to be involved, but who knows? Maybe he'll get shot.
Man, you never know.
Yeah,
Hope.
It'd be so satisfying. Like, oh man, thank goodness we solved that situation with only one casualty, though he did get shot 400 times. Luckily, no one knows who he is. So no one's sad about it.
He did briefly die seemingly in this chapter, so that was fun.
Yeah, it's always satisfying to see him sad. All right, Nick, we have World Trigger this week, and not only do we have World Trigger, a fight is happening in World Trigger.
That's right. Can you believe it? Chapter 260, the Away Mission Test, Phase 2, Part 3. It turns out that Katori was actually sent by Sua in order to like deliver some of the Trian soldiers that Taichi had designed, because it's like, hey, we need to like get these mounts like handed out to people so that like we can all travel more quickly. And she has a thing where, because people are like, yeah, use our steed to do it, giddy up, and Katori's like, it's a horse. It's clearly a dog. Like, look at it, it's a dog. Katori asks like why she has to do this, and brings up like, why doesn't freaking Four Eyes, Osamu do this instead? And Sue says like, because you're a more skilled fighter and you're more likely to survive if you encounter trouble along the way, and also your defeat value is a lot lower, so you're more disposable.
Also, you're not worth very many points, so it's okay if you get killed.
Ikoma hitches a ride as well, and very respectfully does not put his hands on her for balance, so he's just got the bento between his hands, leaning fully back.
Bravo to his thigh strength, though.
I broke it.
Oh no! Bravo to him on his thigh strength because he is adhering himself to that mount without any other because I don't see I guess there's a slight stirrup there, but still that requires a lot of core and leg strength, I imagine, to stay on that.
Dude would kill on the mechanical bull.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of what happened there. And I like how it's brought up to Ikoma. I was like, so you're a hitchhiker who joined Katori on her errand. Yeah, that guy gets it. So yeah, they're delivering stuff around. We see that a whole bunch of people arrive from the A division and are attacking B division's Terminal 5. So all the A rankers basically are attacking it. So they have discovered that there is a museum that they could use. Like, hey, we could use this because it's like good terrain for incoming enemies by taking them out with range attacks and stuff. Like, we could like make this our fortress basically. So Kadera's like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Squads 3 through 11 make for the museum. So a whole bunch of people start converging. We get this big layout of the map where everyone currently is, and we see that Terminal 5 is getting hammered down pretty quickly because that's one of the ones that was just completely abandoned. It was over in the A rank squad's territory, and so they're like, no, we're just going to let them take it so that we can use our numbers more efficiently. So A rank squads take down that point. They get 500 points, so they're a tenth of the way towards winning as a result of that. However, things are kind of in line with the temp squad's calculations on how long it would have taken. So they're like, all right, we got a good firm idea of like how this works now. More meetups between people happen as Katori is continuing to ride around. She ends up meeting up with the squad that Hana is now part of. And Hana's like, okay, here, these eggs hold your mounts and everything. And then she says to Hana, hey, what's this look like to you? Hana's like, it's a dog. What are you talking about? Yes! Yes, I She's so vindicated.
You know, it's bothered her that entire trip. She's like, this is very clearly a dog. This isn't the gait of a horse. This isn't prancing. What are they talking about? Insane.
Mm-hmm. Kodera has Azuma take point to issue commands to the squads at the museum. And he says, like, okay, until I get there, just like prioritize defense, be on the guard for sneak attacks. And it's brought up to Azuma, like, hey, are you allowed to be in command? He's like, as long as I'm not actually like the full-on leader, basically. You can delegate to me, and that's fine, basically.
Yeah.
Yuiga of Arashiyama squad shows up in the middle of the street, and he makes this big deal and draws a whole ton of attention to himself as he uses Escudo, which is a technique we have not seen in a long ass time because it's been so fucking long since we've seen combat.
I was gonna say, we haven't seen anything in a while. Like, if someone shoots a bullet, I'm gonna be like, oh, they're allowed to do that?
This is the barrier technique. So he just summons like a whole bunch of shield barriers to get most of the way across this street that is being defended by sniper. And so they're like, okay, so they're closing in, I guess, to get closer to the mall, but I mean, they still can't get closer. And I don't remember this girl's name. I'm sure that was brought up in the big summary chapter. I have not looked at that for reference, but she starts to rush out. She's got a whole bunch of Tryon cubes with her, and she uses Skanda to just light dash in through the window into the mall, tosses the cubes down, and a whole bunch of her allies spawn. Kazama and Tachikawa.
The heaviest hitters, too. Tachikawa, oh god, I'm blanking on his name, but Kazama's in there. Is that not the Canadian guy as well?
I think so.
Yeah, and his friend. So yeah, it looks like this is
his friend.
Well, it's like a 2-person squad or whatever. So yeah, it's like a pretty like, oh, this is like sort of the A-list of the A-list almost.
And Kuroe is there, and she's the one who was running really fast, basically. And so Yuiga does this big brag over by the side of the street. Is like, yes, made possible by me. He's like, all right. You
I
made a
was
wall
so
thing.
hoping he would get sniped in that moment.
Ozma realized, like, shit, okay, well, our sniper tower has been infiltrated, so snipers, get the fuck out. But there is suddenly a big explosion as Kazama and Tachikawa start causing havoc. That's no good. And so Ozma's like, all right, yeah, we're in their range. They've got total dominion of this, so we got to get out. And he says, operators, range attackers, retreat to Terminal 4 while we pepper them with fire. And yeah, they just kind of start do this kind of ineffective running assault. So we see Tachikawa easily deflect a bullet as they're running. So he says, like, look, we've got the superior numbers in order to hold them back. Just buy us 2 minutes and don't get taken out. And so they start to retreat. And we get from Arashiyama's perspective things as he and some of the operators are talking, and they're like, okay, yeah, so they did like make a really quick decision to abandon the building. They didn't hesitate when it was time to act. And Arashiyama says to himself, I still can't be sure who's actually in command over there, but their next move should make it all too clear. And the neighbor that they've been using to transport around, a rabbit, throws Konami, who goes flying in, and she's like, all right, get over here. The coast is clear. Let's go before a sniper spots us. Kodera is observing this movement and it continues to see, like, what is this insane movement that we're seeing? And over the course of a few pages, because people see, like, okay, there's like things flying through the air. They're not flying. There's a parabolic trajectory. There must be something throwing them. And eventually somebody realized, like, a rabbit must be flinging them. I've been hit by a rabbit. I know what it's like.
I love how you say someone, because I have no idea who this is. I was like, did Taichi take off his hat? Is that what Taichi looks like without the hat on? But I truly have zero idea who this character is. And I know
I vaguely know who it is.
Someone's going to pop in. They're going to be like, don't you remember Doshi from Doshi Squad or some shit like that? And I'll be like, no, because we've been in this fucking essay box for 2.5 years, so I don't remember half the characters anymore.
So Kodera has everyone like relay this information, and then he realized, like, oh shit, they've realized we've got the superiority not just in numbers but in number of snipers. So we would have the advantage if we could just keep our distance during shootouts. So they're trying to sandwich us and not give any room for our snipers to retreat to. So the initial attack was to lure us possibly into grouping up so that they could do that. So he's analyzing the situation, and he's like, all right, they've got a pincer movement going on. What can I do at this point? Because squads 1 and 2, they're standing by a terminal 2. I could have them invade enemy territory as a counterplay. But so as he's thinking of that, Arashiyama on the other side is like, now what are they going to do? Because they have these, he knows the exact same thing that Kodera is thinking of. He knows the situation of, like, there's units over there. How are they going to employ them? And so he's like, once I know how they respond to this, I'll know how their leader thinks, and that should let me know who is their leader. And so Kodera makes the decision, and he says, okay, squads 1, 2, 3, 7, strike back at the A-rank squads who have crossed the river to our side. And so this is like a big, change in plan. So they're like, all right, we got to like move out into a different area. He keeps on going by saying, like, squad 11, new objective, you rendezvous here. Rest of my squad, go join that group. So he goes defensive, regather the troops, don't get split up, make sure that we don't lose control of our territory, basically. And Arashiyama sees all this movement happening, and he realizes it's Kodera. Kodera is the one who is the leader over there, which is valuable information because he's like, okay, I know who the leader is, and clearly he knows how he thinks based on the fact he could draw that conclusion from how he was acting. So he starts to issue some orders as well on his end, and Kodera kind of also realizes, like, okay, I think that I've been read here. I'm pretty sure that my decision was predicted. So we have to assume that when we make our next moves, and they'll see my choices coming. So he reflects on something that Kitora had said during the exam period, which was, hey, make better use of us in the next phase of the exam. And so he decides to do that. So he calls up Sua and he says, hey, I want to borrow Mikomo for a bit. But before anything can come of that, there's a boom. And somebody has bailed out. So the first casualty in the battle has occurred as someone has been taken out.
Makes sense. A lot of action is going on over at that museum. A lot of characters could be getting taken out. I would love if it was Yuega and he like tripped over a rock and like impaled himself on like a really sharper rock next to it or something like that. But it's probably one of the not unranked, whatever they're calling themselves, like the temporary squads, essentially. Because, as I said, that was like kind of a really brutal force of characters who showed up at that museum. That is definitely like some of the most dangerous attackers they could have sent. So, yeah, really interesting stuff going on. I don't really know how to react to World Trigger being about, like, tactics and combat again. Like, I'm truly in my mind being like, but what do they all think? What if they all wrote, like, essays about what's going on instead of doing it and then submitted that and then we could have people analyze things? How about that for 3 more years again, please?
Yeah, it's kind of that phase of, like, when you're watching a show and you're not like consciously thinking about your reaction to it, but you do kind of like find yourself kind of like leaning in and focusing on it more.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel when I read this, of like I can feel like it pulling me in, even though I'm not really sure how I feel about that yet. I just know that I'm like getting pulled in.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. Had a lot of fun. Hima-Ten, Nicholas.
Yes, Hima 76, Quinn.
76, correct.
Over at a friend's house. So Iamori has come over to Himari's place at her invitation to, just like come and hang out, not like do cleaning and stuff. And he notes as he like goes up the elevator to go to into her place, like this is the first time that like, she's had to open the door for me, because he has always like just like let himself in up to this point. But Himari greets him at the door, big smile on her. She's got a comfy sweater on, and she asks him in, and he's like, "You're not like thanking me for coming this time." She just says like, welcome, and she's like, "Yeah, because you're not my cleaner anymore, so you're here to hang out. Why would I thank you for that?" And like, there's like just like these little awkward things that happen because she's like, "Here, wear my guest slippers," and he's like, I did, just like things are just different because he's a guest instead of her cleaner. Terasaka is there, having spent the night overnight, and she brings up to Iamori like, "Yeah, she told me how you're not going to be your house cleaner after next month," and Iamori's like, "Yeah," and like Himari gives them a little bit of space at that moment, and so she leans in and it's like, "Hey, don't you want to ask me how she feels about it? It doesn't seem like it's bothering you, huh?" And Iamori's like, "I mean, like, I don't really have a choice. Like, I just kind of have to like be professional and just accept it." And Himari seems to be okay with it. And Terasaka says, "Did you lose your senses the very moment that you stopped working for her?" And she brings up like, why did she ask me to come over if she was actually totally fine? And Iamori confides in her like, "All right, well, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do." Like, I can't really do anything about it.
In fairness, I'm kind of on Iamori's side a little bit here, where he's like, what do you want me to do?
Grab her. Look into her eyes and tell her how you feel.
It's very funny because
that would be weird though.
Because like all throughout this chapter, it's very clear that she has the hots for him. Like she keeps sitting down next to him. She's always asking him if he needs anything, all this sort of stuff. But like the entire time, he's just like, I'm at the end of the month gonna say who the girl I have feelings. What do you want me to do in this scenario?
Uh, Himari comes in. She's like, "Oh, what do you guys want to drink?" And Iamori is even like awkward over this because she's like, "You're going to serve me a drink," because he's just so used to like being the one to give her food and everything. Yeah, she comes out with drinks for everybody, and very obviously on this couch that could comfortably seat 3, if not 4 people, sits down in B while Iamori is sitting in A. He just turns and is like, "What are you doing?"
She's like, it'd be natural that I'm sitting where I want to. She keeps saying this phrase too over and over again. Get with the program. She says it like 2 or 3 times in this chapter, where she's like, can't you tell? I didn't plan to do anything, you know?
I just wanted to sit in front of the TV. That's all. Anyway, let's play not Mario Kart.
What are you talking about, Nick? It's Fun Run Racers. It's one of the best games.
It's very strange because the cars look like they're in 3D and the characters look like they're in 2D.
That's the weird aesthetic. That's what makes it Fun Run Racers.
Absolutely. So Iamori is surprised because he's like, I didn't even know you like had this game at your place. And Terasaka's like, are you upset because you don't know everything about her? And Iamori is like, I've been cleaning her living room for the past year. I thought I knew what was in here pretty well.
They're so mean to him this week because he's like, I just didn't know she had a video game console. And then they're like, yeah, she doesn't. We brought one over.
Why are you trying to gaslight him? Is this how you think you make guys fall in love with you? So yeah, like they're like, okay, yeah, it's just kind of like weird, I guess, being a guest here and everything. And he's like, do you mind if I play with you? And Himari's like, sure, yeah. Since you're like, the new guest, I've been playing with Terasaka since yesterday. You can have the pro controller and stuff. And then it turns out he's really good at the game because he plays with his siblings. And Himari makes this like very like, stop going after me, I'm not good at this, jeez. And it's like so clearly like, all right, you are trying to do this as a tactic, and Iamori's locked in. You let him play a game that he's familiar with. He's locked in.
I challenged my boyfriend to Street Fighter 6 when I was at his place recently, and this is like how it went. Where like I was like, "Ooh, let's play Street Fighter. You never know how good I am." And then he pulled out like his fight stick, so like obviously he knows a lot more, and like whooped me like 7 games in a row. And then I start being like, "Oh, I'm not good at this." Didn't matter. He was like, we made a deal to go to 10 and just beat the shit out of me for like 4 more rounds or whatever. It was relentless.
So yeah, that all happens, and then he finally reveals that like, oh yeah, I've got this game at home. And Himari's like, well, then I don't know why I gave you the pro controller for the advantage. Terasaka is just watching this all happen, and is like, she has just been flirting with him since she sat down next to him the whole time. Himari's stomach growls. Iamori's like, oh, you've got a big appetite. And I do like how Himari says, whose fault is that? But then it's like, yeah, it's time for lunch and everything. And so they're like, oh, what do we want to do? And Himari's like, I could make something if you're both okay with that. And Iamori's like, oh, like you? And Himari's like, yeah, I'm the host. Yeah, I can do it. And I mean, he, of course, remembers like, oh, she really struggled with food until I taught her how to make a few things, though. And so he realizes that, tries to give her an out, but she says, no, it's no trouble. I've had tons of practice, from like chopping up vegetables at the school festival and stuff. And if it is an easy recipe, I don't need to practice. So don't try and help me. Keep on playing with Samire. And so she goes off into the kitchen. Terasaka's like, what's your problem? And Iamori's like, I'm just kind of like shake it up a little bit. And he thinks to himself that he feels kind of frustrated and self-conscious. But he's like, yeah, I mean, if she wants to cook for us, sure. And then he reflects on one of their earliest conversations in the series, and how, like, obviously, when she had the objection, like, you can't like come over here like a guy from my place and everything. But then she was like, you see how horrible my apartment looks. I can't let you just go. So swear you won't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone about this. And, just like reflecting on the difference since then is what Iamori's doing. Himari finishes up. She made yakisoba. Iomori's like, oh my god, it actually looks good. She tries it, and yeah, it's good. Like Terasaka is like, of course she's like, it's great, Himari, because she's of course going to do that. But Iomori doesn't say anything at first, and then he's like, you wouldn't tell me what you thought of my cooking when we first started off. And so Himari's like, well, you can't do that to me though, because we're friends.
It'd be mean if you did it to me.
But finally he turns to her and he says, like, it's good. You proved me wrong. And so he's like, sorry, I'm here for fun. I was just joking with you. And Terasaka is again still just watching all of this and is just like, I just want him to know how hard she worked on this. She practiced making yakisoba all night so that she could cook for him, but I can't say anything. So she announces that she's got to go to practice because, of course, she's got all the track and field stuff. She asks if Iomori has any plans after this, and he's like, yeah, not really, but I'm going to, I guess, head home when you do because, yeah, I can get my cleaning supplies and everything. And Himari, okay, execute phase 2. She leans over, puts her hand on his shoulder and says, hey, you're already here to hang out, so do you want to go to a shrine for New Year with me?
Smooth.
Doesn't want to let him go.
It's adorable in its own way. I like that Himari is like trying to do this thing where she's like, we're all just hanging out. I don't know why you're making a big deal out of it. Proceeds to like sit down right next to him and stuff like that.
You're so funny, Himori.
It's very adorable in how like young love this is and how awkward it all comes across. And I don't know. I guess that's just charming enough that I don't mind that I'm a little put off by how mean they kind of are to Iomori a couple times in this.
All right. Yeah. I do wonder how effective this whole thing is going to be because I kind of get the sense that it may backfire in Himari, where she's like, she's like turned the flirtation counter up to 12, and it's like, the reason you guys got closer is because you were being genuine around him, not because of any of that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like a different type of facade that you're putting on, like the professional got it all together facade, and now the I'm a young lady in love flirting with this guy kind of facade.
Exactly.
And I wonder if that's going to be the way things will turn out.
Yep.
But, Quinn, we have a new series to talk about this week. It's called Kinato's Magic by Kento Amamiya. And chapter 1 is called Kinato's Magic. Kinato is a mage, the only mage in his village in this world where, it's like kind of a fantasy setting where mana and magic and all this stuff exist. And Kinato has, it's just called, it's called something very specific. Manutuka. No, that's the town. Sorry. It's Seitai magic.
Yes.
Which seemingly has to do with like the alignment of like energies and stuff in people's bodies, which he uses to heal. Like we see him kind of give a guy a massage and like bandage up his wound and stuff with it. But as he gets some compliments from the guy, he's like, I heard that there's all sorts of guys like from the Adventurers Guild who can do even more incredible things because like there are mages who can shoot like fire and stuff. So they're, completely different from you, Kinato, in a good way. And Kinato's like, I just adjust the flow of magic. That's all. That's it. We are introduced to his childhood friend, Line, who is the daughter of the innkeeper in town. And she comes up and is like, Kinato, can you give me money?
I love Lene. I would die.
Love her too.
I would die for her. She is such a silly goofball, and I love that she gets to be that.
Yeah. She like puts him in a headlock and just like starts squeezing his head. And he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And she's like, yeah, I just read this book that said intense physical touch is a great way to loosen the purse strings of naive childhood friends. So she tried to flirt with him and didn't understand the context of it. And also her motivation was to just get money out of this.
Just get money. And I love how afterwards she's like, anyways, all jokes aside, and then pulls like a full potted plant out of her pocket. And he's like, how did you?
He calls attention to it, and it's just like she had a potted plant in her satchel. What do you want, man?
It was, I mean, come on.
Yeah, that bag has 4 inventory slots, and this only takes up 1, obviously. So, but she says, like, yeah, one of the guests we have her in, she was like really fond of this plant, and it started wilting, and she got really upset about it. So the reason I asked you for money is because I just wanted to buy her a new one.
Aww.
But Kitano has an alternate solution, which is that, he's like, plants are living things, like, so they have mana that flows through them, even though it's not very much. So if I draw out the withered parts, and then we put in some water, and then he just does all that, and he manages to get it to come back to life by doing so. And then there's a moment where Linnea says, like, wow, you made it all buff and healthy. Can you make me all buff, especially my butt? All right. She cares about the health of her glutes, I guess.
Yeah, it's important.
Some adventurers show up. You can tell they're adventurers because they're all wearing the same hooded cloak, I guess. And they have just observed Kitana doing magic out in public. So they're like, wow, it's amazing. We get kind of a breakdown on, like, what adventurers like actually do, which is like they go and they slay monsters, they conquer labyrinths, they guard kingdoms. They're all combat experts. And so the leader of the 3 of them, while they're hanging out in Linnea's inn later, says, like, we hear you're a powerful mage. And he's like, not really powerful. And he explains, like, look, my magic is just like therapeutic. I just help to kind of like patch people up, accelerate their regeneration and all that stuff. And there is just kind of like a weird moment where the guy doesn't understand. So he demonstrates by like, oh, thanks for making my shoulder better. Linnea is laughing over how awkward the situation is between them. And then the guy tries to kind of salvage it by saying, like, hey, I mean, like, you still have magic, and that could be very useful. Like, hey, look, we're going to go try and slay a dragon, and we need to be in tip-top shape. So, that would be like really helpful to have you along with us, because you could ensure we're in tip-top shape. And hey, we'll pay you. And Linnea hears they're going to pay him, and it's like, oh, to think that I would receive a part of the reward as a referral fee if you succeed. Just works her way into this conversation that has nothing to do with it. But I'm obviously just worried about Kitano, that's all.
Yeah. But I'd like to get my beak wet too.
Kitano says, like, I don't really know. I really feel like this is not kind of like my thing. I think that I've got like my limits in terms of my magic, and I'm aware of those limits. So he asks for some time to think about it. The adventurers leave them. And so Kitano and Linnea are hanging out later, and he apologizes to Linnea for, costing her a chance to make money. And she says, I was actually thinking about how, when we were kids, you would talk about how, like, your dream was to be an adventurer so that you could use your magic to help a whole ton of people. And you've been saying that ever since we were kids. And, the fact that, like, you're never, like, going to follow through with it, it feels like your dream is a waste. That's all. So he thinks about that. He goes home to the Manutuka Seitai clinic where his grandma lives with him. And Kitano's grandma is like the most drama-free character you would have ever seen in a parental role in a shonen series. He's like, yeah, these guys, I don't know what I should do and stuff, because like these adventurers need my help. I don't know if I can help them, but they said the dragon could endanger the village. She just comes over to him and is like, you're a very good Seitai practitioner.
Here's a book.
I'm sure that he's look, you help people. You're a very kind boy. Get out there and do a good job. I'm proud of you. That's it.
Leave me to my tea and my robe and go out there and be a superhero.
So Kitano races out, goes to meet up with the adventurers as they're leaving the village. They set off in the middle of the fucking night, which seems like a bad plan. But as they head out, Kitano is talking with them for a bit, and as they get into the woods, he says, hey, do you guys like have some sort of strategy or something, like, for how we're going to deal with this dragon? And the leader's like, oh, right, strategy. Yeah, our strategy was to lure you out here so we could kidnap you. But they seemed so trustworthy, Quinn.
I really thought this one dude was wearing a mask, but nah, his eyes are just like that. He just has a very like smiley, unnerving face.
So they knock him out, and they're like, "Yeah, we're not actually adventurers. You're just special because you can use magic, and we're gonna fucking sell you as a slave for money." And they take him out to this like bandit hideout that they've got in the hills nearby, toss him into a cell. Where this was so weird. He gets thrown into a cell, and as he recovers and looks up, there's just this other prisoner in there bound up with his face in a pile of grass.
Yeah, he's just like eating a rock that has like moss and some grass on it.
And he's like, "It's not what it looks like! The grass is edible!" This series had some really good laughs.
It's weird because this is the Shadow Eliminators manga, and manga, I should say, and I remember nothing about Shadow Eliminators. Like the entire time I was reading this, I was like, "This seems familiar," but I wasn't sure. And I looked it up, and I was like, "What else has this person done?" Shadow Eliminators. What do I remember about that?
Kind of good art.
Nothing. Yeah, I remember the art being kind of nice, but I don't remember anything else about it. Now, granted, we only read the first three chapters and then passed on it. But I was like, was that series as funny as this? Because this chapter is really, really funny.
Yeah. So this fellow prisoner of Kitano says, like, "Look, I swear, like, the sugar grass, I don't just generally eat grass and stuff." Then he's like, "All right, I don't want some weird younger kid to think ill of me. Why don't you start calling me Big Bro?" And he winks at Kitano. He's like, "I'm not going to do that."
No, dog, I don't think I will.
So, he explains to Kitano, they're like, "Hey, yeah, I guess you're a kid from the sticks. You don't know that real adventures were a special badge like this one. Yes, I am actually an adventurer. I'm the captain, in fact, of the Adventurers Guild, the Iron Fangs. My name is Jin." And he tries to look all cool and stuff, and then Kitano's like, "But you got captured?" "Yeah, well, so I tracked down these smugglers, and as I was chasing after this one guy who had gotten away, I saw this girl giving away free food samples, and I just couldn't resist the temptation, so I had a taste, and it turned out it was laced with sleep medicine." And that's how he was captured.
I like too the detail that he was kind of lured because she's also in a bunny costume. Like it was very
With her
flagrant.
boobs out,
Yeah, it was a very shameless attempt to get him, but it worked.
Yeah, so they're stuck there, and also the rope is magical, so it's like draining his mana, and he's like, the more you try and loosen it, the tighter he gets. So yeah, I don't have very much mana left because of that. But that gives Kitano an idea, because he's like, I could use Seitai magic for this because it deals with the manipulation of mana. And so because there is mana flowing between the ropes, he uses that, and just like the way he would get someone's muscles to relax with it, he gets the rope to relax. And then he does that for Jien as well. So he gets them loose, and then Jien says, like, "Hey, there's some guys who are keeping watch outside, so you leave those guys to me." And they break out, get a fight scene with Jien knocking guys around really easily. There's someone manages to sound the alarm, but Jien just leaves all of them in the rocks, just buried up to their boots, after smashing them face first into the wall. And so yeah, he is very strong when someone doesn't have to drop on him.
Yes.
The fake adventurer leader from before, he's like, shit, how did that guy get loose? He's the one guy who's managed to escape, so he starts to make a break for it. But wouldn't you know it, there was actually a dragon the whole time. And so it descends on them. It's like smashing through the rocks around them. Jien and Kitano scream and run away. And Jien manages to like make some smoke screen for them by punching the ground so that they can get to a hiding spot. And Jien's like, okay, I don't really have a means of like calling for help out here, so I've just got to defeat this thing. Kitano's worried for him because, of course, he doesn't have very much mana left at this point. He knows this. So Kitano does the one thing that he can do because Jien is insisting on fighting him. So he's like, I'm going to just the mana that you do have left so that you can at least move more easily. And Jien, again, a dragon is going to kill them. And he's like, oh, check out how fast I can move. A very unserious man is he. But he looks at Kitano and he's like, your magic is the kind that is really kind and caring towards others. You have my word. I will protect you and your town. So get out of here. Kitano starts to run while Jien occupies the dragon, but he realizes he can't just leave him to do that. So instead, he starts to climb up to a perch on one of the rocks, and he's like, this guy's trying to save me. I got to try and help him too. He gets the dragon's attention by chucking some rocks at it, and then he has his massage ball from his therapy stuff, and he's like, it's full of mana. This magic works by adjusting mana and controlling it. We actually cut over to a conversation between Kitano's grandmother and Linnae at this moment as they're eating together. And she explains the way that it works, which is that you set the flow of all types of energy into motion and adjust mana and control it. That is how Kitano's magic works. And she says he's a kind boy. He always uses his magic for the good of his patients. But I wonder what would happen if he were to cast off those restraints. And Kitano throws the massage ball and completely misses the dragon. It falls to the ground. And then he manipulates the magic and the mana inside of it to cause it to shoot up from the ground, and it goes right into the dragon's gut. And the dragon acts like it's been punched in the gut and falls from the sky.
I love that the humor is present even in the action, because it could have just been enough to like do like, oh, really powerful shot, that dragon's launched away, but this is like a full cartoonish, like the eyes are bulging, it's like spinning, it's like
the dragon falls from the sky. Jien is very impressed by this, and Kitano's like, okay, never gonna use that on my patients.
I love this dude is still like, well, my magic's not that good, and the other dude has to be like, you just beat a dragon. What are you talking about?
I've been saying his name wrong, I guess. It's Kinato?
Yeah,
Kinato.
yeah,
It's right there in the title. I've been saying it wrong the whole time. The title's right there staring at me. Oh, boy. So Jien asks if Kinato is like any other experience besides just being like, a therapist. And he's like, no, I just run a clinic with my grandma. And so he's like, you literally are just an ordinary practitioner. And he's like, why don't you become an adventurer? Why don't you join my guild? And he's like, hey, check this out. Check out how flexible I am. Thanks to your Seitai magic. It's incredible. You could lend us your power and we would be great. And Kinato says, like, I can't do that. And look, I know my limits. Like, this is not for me. And Jien has to be like, you just defeated a dragon. Come on.
Like,
come be an adventurer.
Stop with this, yeah.
And I was really worried for a second, Quinn, because like, oh, okay, so the main guy is leaving his hometown to go join the adventuring guild, and the funny childhood friend that was there, she runs the
she's just gonna be stuck behind.
She's not gonna. She's coming too. Yeah, for some reason, it doesn't matter why. I don't care why.
I love it. He's like, I mean, what would I do? Because as you mentioned before, like, what will I tell Grandma? And she's like, okie dokie, catch you later. Okay. And then it's immediately like, all right, goodbye. And then the other girl's like, yeah, bye, everybody. I was like, yes. Like, it was a real like fist pumping moment. I was like, yes, she's staying around.
And Kinato's like, why are you coming too? And Lene is just like, I asked Jin and he said it was okay. And he's like, I need a receptionist. That's it. I feel like we have read so many series that are like this, where it's like, this is the world of magic that I occupy, and I've got a special type of magic that sets me apart from everyone else. But this was fun and funny at moments. It felt like we got a good look at all three of our new traveling group very quickly.
Yep.
It was a breeze to read through. It was fun. The art was really good. So, look, I don't know if this is going to get people's attention the way that it got ours, but I was really happy with this first chapter.
I agree. I really was surprised by this because, again, I don't recall a single thing about Shadow Eliminators. I just remember it having one of the most generic names I think I've ever heard a manga get. And this was one where I was like, oh, this was like a really fun chapter. But as I kept reading, I was like, this is really good. And being surprised, like, as mentioned we've had several series recently where it's like, I have a weak power. Everyone else has powerful
Right.
magic, but I actually have a weak one. This is the only one that actually felt like it was a weak magic that actually was very powerful once he kind of reinterpreted it a little bit. And I was excited by that. I thought it was like fun, and I'm excited to see more of this. I don't know if chapter 2 will be as good, but I really like this one. I do worry though about any series that is trying to be like a magic fantasy series right now. I feel like this series unfortunately might be the a Ichi casualty, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, I mean, like even putting that aside, like the fact that the Mage Next Door happened, it came out like a month and a half ago. That's and that's not doing good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of very clear, you know, basic similarities between them. Obviously, they have like entirely different styles, but like it's a similar thing to kind of like start off with.
Yeah.
So if you just hear like, what's the new series about? I was like, oh, it's the guy who's like in a magical world and stuff. And he's like, I'm not going to check that out. I get that. Hopefully enough people read the first chapter and are like, oh, this was a lot of fun, that they respond positively to it.
Agreed. All right. We have a bunch of series still, so we're going to maybe need to push through a little bit of this.
Yeah, because someone hurts out there right now,
Someone
Quinn.
hurts.
It's chapter 19, Leave It As Dark History. Mizuo, while they're at school, asks Mimei what he's going to do. I love that her opening is like, what are you doing after school? Tomorrow's first period. I mean, technically, that he will do that after school. Eventually, yes. He brings up how the one-liner corner starts back up next week. The prompt, Quinn, is what would be an unfortunate flaw on an all-too-perfect idol? Do you want to go ahead and do that right now before we go through this chapter?
Absolutely. So, I got to preface by saying I've been very busy with school. So, as I read this chapter like 3 hours ago, if even, I really didn't have time to workshop a whole bunch of jokes. So, I'm just going to go with the first one that came to my mind. I apologize in advance. What would an unfortunate flaw of an all too perfect idol be? She's really, really good at her job. Unfortunately, she is showing up in the Epstein emails. And that's a very unfortunate flaw.
Mine is, what would be an unfortunate flaw in an all too perfect idol? She is named Sydney Sweeney.
Is she an idol?
No, but
Fair.
Same difference,
Same difference.
I don't know if I've ever seen anyone play something as badly as she has in her.
It's wild. There was a point in time I really would have put money on saying that like Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney were like destined to become our next big movie stars, and they proceeded to like exclusively be in dog shit since then. So,
well, and other things, yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
All right. So this, of course, brings up a problem because Mizuo's whole thing is like, oh, I kind of like an experience of something, and then that lets me make one-liner observations about it. And it's like, well, you can't just like experience being an idol. However, as they go off their separate ways, she overhears someone like, coming up to Mimei and is like saying like, oh, the student body handout stuff, because he's, the president of all these different things. And she realizes like, maybe I could like think of it in terms of the flaws of an all too perfect Mimei instead of an all too perfect idol. So she's kind of like tailing after him at a number of different points. Like, we see him in the student council room for a bit and how everyone's, reacting. It was like, man, this guy's, he's so perfect. He's so studious and everything. She comes up on him while he is like making some deliveries and he's thinking about, what he's got to do with his day. And, he's just, like kind of walking around with him while doing all this stuff. There is a moment where like they run into some of, Mizuo's friends, and Mimei, is like about to make an observation about like their time together, and she's like, shh, shut up. Mizuo asks like, hey, how have you just always like done stuff like this? And he's like, yep, I want to do everything that I can perfectly. So she's just like constantly still working. Eventually gets to a point where he's like, yeah, so the student council does like prep work beforehand, so I'm gonna clean up for the sports club. So he's like, I'm gonna go scrub out one of the pools, and Mizuho was like gone when he turns to look after her. So he's like, all right, well, I guess I could like listen to Monmid while I'm out here or something, and maybe that'll help me to come up with some one-liners and stuff. But then he nearly trips while he's just kind of like zoning out doing that. So he's like, I guess I can't do that. And he's like really embarrassed and self-conscious because he's like, I tripped. I mean, like no one was around to see it, but I'm still like self-conscious about it. He's talking to himself about how like he's like, oh man, this is like my chance to like reset everything to try and like catch up to Mizuho, and I want to do everything perfectly, but that's like kind of really difficult. Like the fact that I've got so much stuff on my plate and I want to do everything perfectly. And then Mizuho shows up at that moment as he's talking to himself, and she just, kind of like leans over the edge of the pool and looks down at him and says like, someone's got troubles, huh? And then she's like, hold still, and just starts trying to balance a juice box on his head while she's there.
Such a weirdo.
She joins him to clean up, and she's like, yeah, I knew that you kind of like, were doing this, so I figured that like if I was going to help you, I should grab my hair tie so I could help out. And then she saw him like trip and everything, and so she's like, so I guess you really aren't perfect, huh? And then she says to him, but you try your best. Aw. There's an awkward moment because Mimei like is gonna like loan her his jacket so that she will prevent herself from getting dirty. She thought ahead and brought her own. That's kind of matches the energy between these two very well. So they clean up together, and then we get them listening to the results of stuff being read off. Battle Chimney still getting stuff freaking read out, and then Owl in the Woods comes in. And his flaw for the all too perfect idol is they call a fan a fawn. Okay.
Hilarious. But I bet another joke that probably is much funnier in Japanese, but again, I really like the idea that the comedy podcast exclusively just kind of takes like the C tier jokes as like, we'll just throw those out there.
And he's so excited about this that he like is shouting over the announcement that Mizuho is getting one of hers read out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I love the detail that you can see it's one of hers being read as he just starts screaming out.
Yeah, so they actually start off after the first episode tied at 1 apiece. But so he's really proud of himself as they go into school the next day, and Mizuho's like, hey, you keep on acting all cocky and you're going to end up with a white geography. And Mimei is like, leave it as dark history, because that's the phrase, darn it. And a couple of the people in the class just come by at that moment. They're like, oh, I guess he's actually kind of does have some weak points. And Mizuho just kind of like prances off because she annoyed her friend.
Yeah. I enjoyed this chapter. I like that we get a little bit to kind of touch on Mimei's perfectionist streak. And to sort of touch on that with like the prompt for this week about like, oh, what's the flaw in an all too perfect idol? It's like, oh, guess we're kind of talking about Mimei there. Professor Pete's going to jump up on my lap in a second. But it was good. I really enjoyed this chapter. I thought it was fun and it was cute. And it's a nice way to start things up. I'm sorry, my cat's doing weird things right now. What are you doing?
It is nice to see our two characters like getting to know each other better, challenging each other's like notions of who they are.
Yes.
Preconceived notions.
Absolutely.
Ultimate X's Kiyoshi, Chapter 78, Ask Not the Sparrow How the Eagle Soars, featuring a color page with our boy Sosuke. Haha. This trump card has arrived. He's here to rescue Shuten from Hell's Gaga. Shuten apologizes for how much stronger Gaga is, but when Gaga copies the Maki powers and unleashes the Black Flame, Sosuke is able to counter it with Leviathan. Gaga refers to him as Horizon Toady, which gets Sosuke pissed off. That's good. So Sosuke says, you said he'll keep getting stronger if we don't finish him off. Ha! That's true for us Exorcists too. And he crackles with energy and stuff. The professor has contributions to make to this episode.
Yeah,
Apparently.
he wants everyone to know if he's slamming his head into the podcast, it means he approves. He's really into the Sosuke moment.
But Sosuke says, as Shuten continues to warn him and everything, you think I'm Harai's toady? Rest assured, the Exorcist standing in front of you is a future cross paladin. And he vows that he is going to catch up to Harai because he's like, if I don't surpass my limits, I'm never going to reach him. Like, he knows how dangerous the situation is, but he's like, I've got to do this. Kaga refers to him as a four-eyed background character.
In almost any other manga, he would be too. He just happens to be actually the second most important character in this series.
Yeah, and Sasuke calls Gaga a Nepo baby. It's like, man. Mr. Yamada is continuing to look after Kiyoshi. They are trying to treat him and everything, and they're really worried about Mr. Tsusaka and Cook, who are holding off the hordes and hordes of demons. A big one made of mouths shows up, but fortunately, someone comes in to save the day with wrecking murder poison. That's right, Hydraco is here. And so she gives Tsusaka and Cook like an injection to help them out. It's some sort of antidote to, I think, the poison she just injected into the entire area. But that gets them back on their feet. Tsusaka is very confused by this and asks, like, what kind of relationship do you have with Kiyoshi? And Hydraco does the connecting thoughts that get more and more intense until she winds up on, are you guys getting married? And she's like, why would I marry him? Yep. Someone else shows up to try and help out with the recovery of Kiyoshi. He says he's here to share some energy, and all of a sudden he's cut apart into all over his body, and he falls to the ground bleeding. As it turns out that another former member of the 13 Club, the former 8th Lord, Neko, is there. He's got so many tails, Quinn. 5 tails with 5 stripes on them, it looks like. So yeah, he is like, I'm going to go and kill that Kiyoshi guy. And he's very fast. He cuts down Hydraco as well. Tsusaka is frozen up because he recognizes who Neko is. Neko is the one who killed his friend in the demon core. It was bound to happen eventually because, of course, he's patrolling around the demon world. This was bound to happen eventually. So he says he's going to take down Neko. He's never going to forgive him. Neko is very sadistic about the whole thing. And he's like, look, I just love exorcists who are really pissed off about people I've killed because killing guys like that, that's my catnip. Tsusaka, however, is trembling as well, and Neko recognizes this. Like, even though he's, finally confronting the person who killed his friend, he's got his chance of revenge, he's frozen up. And Neko's like, you know the truth, don't you? You know the truth is that you're going to die just like your best friend. And then Cook hits him with a beautiful, form-perfect double-legged drop kick right in the chin. Bob Holly would be proud. Neko knocks him away, but Cook reconvenes with Tsusaka and gives him a inspirational speech, ? He balks and goes cock-a-doodle-doo. And Tsusaka's like, that's right. I haven't trained all this time just for that. Things are different, and we're going to protect what we have to protect. And Neko's like, that's stupid. There's no way you're going to be able to protect anyone. I'm going to kill you. And Tsusaka says, I've trained so I can defend the important things right in front of me. I won't let you take anyone else from me. We're going to protect Kiyoshi Harai. And that's where we end our chapter. So unfortunately, we're not getting much more Sosuke, I guess, for a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to delay to do this fight, which is fine. I'm super excited about the Sosuke fight, but I did want Tsusaka to do something. And if we're going to kind of introduce, like, hey, this guy has a personal history, it works. We need some reason for these two guys to have animosity towards each other besides, like, they're on different sides, and this is a good way to do it. So I'm pretty excited for him to, redeem himself here. Now, that said, the best character in this chapter is Cook. It comes with that missile drop kick, as you said. Really can't stress enough how exciting that page turn was.
Somebody nominate Cook for Speech of the Year, please, because clearly it was very effective.
Baka baka cockadoo.
Absolutely.
It says everything you need to.
Brevity is the soul of wit. Mm-hmm. All right. Chapter 2 of The Under Doctor. Chapter 2 is a normal doctor. We pick up literally chapter like where chapter 1 left off. With Haiji having just fallen, parachuted out of the plane that he was in, helping out save the situation there. He has landed in the woods, and a helicopter comes to get him. And he is brought into the helicopter by Chiwa, his manager, Chiwako Oshimori, who I love. She wears a business suit, and she's got a cool scar. Love her.
Mm-hmm.
So she scolds Haiji for all the problems that he caused because, he brought a lot of attention. The fact that there was a terrorist attack and there was, a doctor who like did superhero shit. So she's like, you made a lot of difficulties for me. And she's like, doing that threatening smile thing while looming over him because of all the money it cost them to cover stuff. And she's like, you're going to have to pay everything back. All the costs that were involved in covering things up. Do you want to know the exact number? She like leans over him and she says, I am aware that you require funds for your research, so I'll pay some of it too. Do you know how many hundreds of millions of yen were deducted from my bank account? And he is very terrified of her and is like, fine, I'll work hard and do my best. So they go straight into a job. It looks briefly as though they are seeing a Yakuza member in an abandoned apartment building who is bleeding out from a gunshot wound. Turns out he's not actually a Yakuza member. He is a member from the public security section who has gone undercover, and he got into a gunfight while, because somebody found out who he was. Haiji takes stock of the situation very quickly with, his sight that lets him see, wounds and weak points and all that stuff. Then, as he is preparing for the operation, Chiwa introduces herself and says like, yeah, so just so you know, like, because he asks who she is and she says, I'm an Oshimori. Does that answer it? It turns out that her entire clan is made up of mediators who work in the Japanese underground since ancient times. And so she's also got a big rep behind her as well. Mm-hmm. While the operation is going on, some more people show up to kill the cop. Who gets drawn without any details on his body in one very awkward panel. I don't know what's going on there. But he's like, I don't want you guys getting wrapped up in this. So just get out of here. I'm a detective. You need to run. And of course, Haiji is just like, let's take care of the situation. Stop that. And he, goes out. He punches through the wall and disables people with his pressure point stuff, kicks out the door, knocks somebody out. And as the fight ensues, Chiwa says to him, like, hey, you shouldn't nitpick medical practitioners. Don't worry about him. He's strong. And the cop is just like, who the hell is that doctor? And Chiwa just says, he's just a normal doctor. It's true that he's strong, but he always does his best to save the patients he encounters. He just does what he can, like any other normal doctor. He's also a meddler who's chronically sleep deprived. Haiji beats everyone up, comes back in order to patch up the cop, and does that, gets him to the hospital. Haiji plays with his kid, which is kind of cute. Mm-hmm. He's grateful to him. They say goodbye.
Not as good as the first chapter of the series. I did enjoy the scene of our hero being like, I'll take care of them, and then like hard cut to him just like slamming his fist through a door to like hit somebody with a pressure point move. That was pretty cool. But unfortunately, I think for the most part, this was like very basic and not particularly notable. I just didn't really have too much of an impression as I was going through it.
To go from I'm on a plane full of terrorists to I'm patching up this guy in a hotel is a bit of a step down in the excitement factor. Also, kind of like it's a lot more basic, like the because seems to be this thing of like, oh, it's important to save these people because of the people who rely on them kind of thing. And that's just kind of like not emphasized as much, it feels like, as it was in the previous one, like where it was such a big deal that Haiji saved this doctor, and it's like, well, this guy's got a wife and a child, and obviously that's very important, but it's not like at the forefront of the chapter. It's not made as big of a deal.
Yeah, and it's weird because it felt like last week was a way to like get us moving with the plot. And then this chapter felt like it didn't actually push us forward in any way. Like it introduced us to his handler, but like
That's
in
about
terms
it.
of the actual content, I was like, I don't feel like I have any more of an idea what the series is going to be about.
Yeah, well, we'll read one more chapter and see how we feel about it, I guess.
Yeah.
But,
Now we know
yeah,
we know one series about how we feel about it, and that's new Sexorcist, Nick, which we love every week.
I mean, I can't say with 100% certainty that you're wrong, because I do feel like I love this series the way that I love a disaster. Like it's
Yeah, I love this. I love this manga the same way I love the movie Sharktopus. You know, like I love kind of just watching something fall apart.
Chapter 131, Water Slides. Hey, the boss of the first section of this stupid resort thing has been discovered. So the guy gets on a megaphone to shout this to everyone, and then Soranaki makes the declaration to everyone. It's like, here are the rules of the contest. You will face off against resort boss Gochi here on the water slides. The Milky Way Railroad is the largest water slide in the history of Japan. To win, use the various items placed along the course to reach the goal before the boss does. What?
It's an overbooked match, Nick. This is like that match TNA had where there's a box in each corner. One of them has a title in it. One of them has a spider in it. One of them has like a you're fired slip or something like that in it.
Feast or fired.
Yeah.
Which they used to actually surprise people who didn't know that they were finishing up their contract with the company until they got the you're fired notice, apparently.
Oh, TNA.
Yeah. We are told specifically that you're not allowed to bring your own weapons, and there are cameras everywhere, except for the tunnel zone.
I love how they like specify it so clearly. So we're like, okay, so they can't do any shenanigans until the tunnel zone, when clearly they can do whatever the fuck they want.
The most important place to have a camera. So Gakuro is going up against Gochi. And so they've got like boogie boards to go down, and so Gakuro goes down on his belly while Gochi is like, I'm gonna surf down, dude, which seems like a bad idea if you are racing. Like that's not the most efficient means of getting momentum. Anyway, so Gochi's getting style points. There is a very weird moment where the fashionable young women say slang that young people do. It's just so awkward because I have no idea who any of them are, and they just go, he's kind of fire. He totally ate.
It's very much like, all right, I assume two Gen Z employees like put this together, and they were like, yeah, this is what like teenagers sound like now.
Yeah. I mean, there would be one person I assume there who would be like, can we work in 6'7" somehow? That's what the young people are doing.
They're like, wow, he's so 6'7" up there. Unk is really going off.
The point is, the Gochi is like showing off to everybody. He literally takes his glasses off to wink at the girls that he can apparently hear from hundreds of feet up in the air around a rushing water slide. Anyway, they come to some items, which include a squirt gun, a bamboo pole, a rake, and a hyper yo-yo. Gochi takes the hyper yo-yo.
Why wouldn't you? Really?
Gakuro takes the bamboo pole because he's a boring asshole. So Gochi uses the yo-yo to go into a parallel water slide and kicks up water from that water slide into the slide behind him, thereby creating further momentum in a way that physically does not make sense.
Yeah,
if I just reach ahead and pull the water behind me, I'll go faster.
It's one of those like, sure. I remember as a kid playing a game, like a make-believe game where me and my friend would have like fake battles against each other. And I would always just use the loosest form of science to get ahead. And I remember he was, I think I was like playing Mr. Freeze against Static Shock. And I was like, make the air so cold, your metal wristbands constrict around your wrist because metal constricts when you're cold. And I remember being so proud of it.
True.
Yeah, this is some shit like that where you're just like, I'm going to put more water behind me, thus increasing my momentum.
So it turns out that Gochi, his resume is that he's a video streamer who goes against experts and wins all over the place. His concept is, I'm going to be the strongest. Wow, what an interesting guy. A guy who wins at everything. Isn't he cool? Don't you want to follow him? Gakuro counters by puncturing a hole in Gochi's water slide with the bamboo pole.
I wish this shit was even crazier because it is kind of funny how ridiculous this scenario has become already.
Gochi says that this is pathetic because Gakuro is just desperate and that's still all he's got. So they come to the next set of items, which are a wooden Buddha statue, a no demon mask, clothespins, and a lion dance mask. And Gochi reacts to this by using the yo-yo to sever the item line and whittle down the Buddha statue into a wooden sword, which he uses to chop Gakuro's slide in half. Is anyone supposed to use this resort after y'all are done with it?
Yeah, I was like, eventually someone else is going to have to use this water slide, right?
So everyone's reaction to, the water slide being chopped in half is he's ridiculously tough and not, holy shit, he just chopped a water slide in half with a wooden sword he whittled out of a statue. So Gochi's like, I'm sure that the only ones that I got to worry about are like, that teacher Hakataku and Nue, but yeah, I'll just win anyway. It's fine. He poses while going through the immense tunnel because he's standing up, and then Gakuro comes up behind him, and he has summoned Yozora behind him, and of course she's in a bikini too. Every girl's got to be in a bikini in this section, obviously. And so Gochi's like, "How'd you catch up?" And Yozora's like, "Thanks to me, of course." Okay, so how did it happen? She just did. She controlled the board and made it stable the way that she controls Xenodark.
Yeah, Nick, Yozora stabilizes Xenodark as a rule, as we know. So this is really just an extension of that. Gakuro can be at the front being like, Xenowi! And she's over there just keeping the balanced board and everything.
Xenoboard! So Gochi is like, well, there's no cameras in the tunnel zone, so we can just fight here. And he turns his foot into a hand with teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Tries to attack Gakuro with it. Gakuro is utterly unfazed. He just goes, and dodges, and then punches Gochi in the fucking face. And then Yozora's like, time for us to evolve. Let's demonstrate our strength to its fullest, Gakuro. And now she's taller and has shoes.
Just the most insanely tight dress you can see her belly button in like the depth. You can see like how it goes, like
vacuum sealed.
I was like, good lord, this is an insanely tight dress for you to be wearing. But whatever, who cares? She's, I guess, like a angel baby or something at this point.
She is 2 months old. All right, so that is New Exorcist.
It's great.
Very stupid.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. Akane-banashi, story 192, the form you've got now. We get a breakdown of kind of like the schedule that Akane is operating under with all of her God of Death training, and we are, told like, hey, yeah, we are like, basically coming up on her third attempt, basically. We see the aftermath of the second attempt that she had. And Shomei says that both Rokuro and Akane seem to have grasped the mindset of the God of Death. So he says, this concludes the third of our triplicate training sessions. Tomorrow will be the final training, Mind the Details. And then he gets a thing where he's like, I'm going to go complete my stamp collection. It's one of my principles. This fucking nerd. It's not a stamp collection. It's a seal collection. Like a stamp.
Get it right.
Anyway. Akane thinks to herself that training is going well, but she is worried about something. Rokuro asks, like, hey, what are you planning to do after this? And Akane says, Hikaru, I mean, my friend recommended some restaurants to me. What a weird correction. Anyway. But yeah, Hikaru apparently learned, like, oh, you're going to be in Fukuoka. You got to go here and here and here and here because she knows all the cool spots and stuff. Rokuro, as it turns out, is renting a car, so he invites Akane to ride with him to drive around and, like, you know, see some sights and stuff. And he's like, yeah, you just, like, want to go around. And they just, like, make a day of it, riding around and like, taking pictures and stuff together. By the way, Akane in this chapter is in rare braided ponytail form. We, like, never see her with her hair like this. It's unusual. As they are going around, however, Rokuro is like, hey, maybe, you know, we should, like, you know, head over to the venue. And she spots this massive poster for Kaisei's solo show. And so Rokuro, you know, sees her, like, spotting that and says, like, yeah, I guess it's kind of hard to ignore him, especially considering you're trying to, you know, do the thing that you're trying to do. And Akane is like, oh, like, you know about that. And Rokuro says, we performed together a while back before the Shinichi promotion test. And that's where I heard Kaisei's God of Death. And we get a brief snippet, the same visual that we saw heavily emphasized with Akane before. But whereas before, Akane's, like, the visual emphasized, like, the cave around her and the desperation of it, Kaisei looks, like, determined and haunted and old as he's trying to keep the candle lit. And Rokuro describes it as a core of refined shadow, technique polished to a sheen. I found it chilling. And Akane's like, yeah, I mean, like, I'm sure it's even better now. Just grasping the right mindset is not enough to win against him. I, too, need to evolve as a Rakugoka. And Rokuro's like, well, how are you going to do that? And he's like, I don't know. I don't know. So she's like, okay, yeah, we're going to both be doing God of Death. I figured that Kaisei would do the personal style. And so I wanted to try the craftsman style to distinguish myself. But as I was listening to Shomei's performance from the wings, hoping to learn something, it just wasn't really coming together. And Rokuro's like, yeah, I get it, because his style is so specialized. So Akane opted to ask Shomei about it directly, and he just told her, like, look, if you just keep on trying different things rapid fire, you will ruin the form that you have now. Sometimes a snail's pace is the true shortcut to progress. Borderline, but Sloan said he wins the race, but said it in a different way. But Akane is like, I get that. Like, he's probably right, but I'm up against an opponent who's not going to just sit around and wait for me to catch up. I have to win right now if I am going to. So Rokuro asks, like, so are you going to be take a big risk? Are you going to hope that you just take a big step forward doing that? And Akane is like, yeah, of course. Because that's just how she does things. Because she is a shonen protagonist and she makes big swings in order for stuff to pay off. And Rokuro thinks to himself, Anya-san was right. So he says to her, our first day in Fukuoka, I listened to your performance and I thought it sounded like a recording, not a live performance. Maybe that's because you're trying to play all the instruments at once. Try delegating a little, and if you do that, you can surpass your own realm. And then he's like, okay, we gotta go. And because he has a performance coming up, and so he says, I'll show you. He's got a demonstration for her. And Akane's like, aside from our practice together, since I became Futatsume, this is my first time hearing the brightest new star alongside my Keru Ani-san, the Shinichi Rokuro Kashiwaya. Okay, so we're going to see Rokuro perform. Hooray!
It is a fine chapter. This is not a particularly like super memorable chapter because nothing like super significant happens during it. But I am very excited to see Rokuro perform. Have we ever seen him perform to any degree?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited.
Like when he first showed up 100 chapters ago, basically.
Yeah. So it's been a bit. I'm excited to see it. And yeah, should be fun. All right.
His whole thing is he remixes is how it's described. He's a jazz performer, I think.
Was it?
He equates his performances to different styles of music, and the one that we saw, he kind of compared to jazz.
Gotcha. Makes sense. All right, Nick, let's wrap up this week of manga recapping by talking about One Piece, chapter 1172, The Elbath I Dreamed of. So
Bon Clay!
Yay! It's Bon Clay. They're still around. So the first 5 pages of this chapter is just Oda reminding the audience.
Remember what we were doing before all this flashback stuff?
It's very necessary as an audience member, but as someone recapping it, I am going to kind of skip ahead to when they get up out of the underworld and they kind of get back into the snare they are, which is where all the nightmares are running around. Eric has been destroyed. Dory and Bragi have been turned. And they run into Kashi, who explains everything about what's going on. That Dory and Bragi are going to try to kill Chief Ja Rule, which is really, really bad. They also specifically have somebody note that Roto's little brother is one of the hostages, so he goes running off after them. There is a moment where Zoro is just kind of watching, and he's like, "You say Zoro and Bragi and Dory have gone mad, have you?" And we get one of the greatest things that One Piece ever does. We get the big map that shows where everybody is. There are so many moving pieces, but there is the library that's on fire. There's where Saul is and the captured Straw Hats. There's the train of kids who are moving. And then a little bit beyond that is the village where Ja Rule is. And then even further beyond that is the castle. I don't know if the castle is still going to be relevant to all of this, but that is also there.
Yeah, it is neat because we actually get panels of here's the action that's going on, zoomed in on this one area of the map.
There is a lot in that. The things that I will mention is that all the Straw Hats are still captive, but Jinbei does know Chopper's not back. And Brook got some weird idea in his head and ran off. So we'll find out what Brook's up to at some point. We see that the rescue team is going, that I believe Colin was his name, is still trying to tell everybody, hey, we're warriors of Elbath, don't cry. But they're like, oh, we aren't, we're children, this is pretty bad. And Chief Ja Rule just says, fuck it. Hear me, Elbath, I'm going to tell you everything before I die.
I don't know what the fucking point of all this was now. It's so weird that he just...
I don't fully get this. I think Oda had an idea in mind, and he just didn't have the time to fully write it out. Because Chief Ja Rule just says everything. He's like, hey, guys, we all know King Harold was really devoted to what he was doing, but then someone tried to, make him hand Elbath over to a demon, and he fought, and he died. We all said it was Loki. It's not. Loki is not as bad as a guy as he seems. He's a little bit of a dickhead, but he's innocent of this crime.
You know how you tell a lie to correct a different lie, and then, because you're not just telling the truth, you have to account for the lies that you told within the new lie, and therefore sometimes it doesn't quite work. Yeah, why did you keep a secret if it was just a demon that attacked Harold instead of Loki?
I am honestly not sure why. For a while I was like, wasn't there something that Ja Rule lost his memory when he got stabbed in the head and something brought it back? But I was like, I don't know. That was 7 months ago if that happened. So I'm not going to remember that. That detail's lost to time.
Maybe he's hallucinating this whole explanation. Maybe that's it.
Maybe. They note how these demons are here. We see a shot of the 3 holy saints all looking pretty intimidating, except for Summers, who just looks like an asshole. And Ja Rule kind of notes listen, you devils, if you spare these children lives, we will gladly give up our culture and history. But if you think you've broken our spirit, you are sorely mistaken. Do not expect Harold's patience from us. You think you can rule over us or enslave us? Who do you think you're talking to? So, very, very cool moment of him noting, bringing that in there. And he even says, look, if this world is destined to be split in two, as the Harley's prophecy suggests, that Elbath shall be an enemy to the world government. And we end the chapter with everybody, all the giants are cheering, like, yeah, Ja Rule. Usopp is like, this rules, the giants are kicking ass again, this is great. And the chapter ends with Zoro pulling out his sword and being like, I think I have a plan.
Zoro with a plan is a frightening thought.
I believe his plan is to probably cut a bunch of things.
Maybe that's where it stops. It's like he cuts one big thing and he's like, all right, that was my plan. Did it help? I mean, a little bit. I mean, just kind of thought that you might do a little more when you said you had a plan.
Yeah, he's like, I cut that thing. What else did you need me to do?
Quinn, what was your favorite chapter this week?
Ooh, I think my favorite chapter this week was Kinato's Magic, the new series we got this week. I really enjoyed it. I thought that was like fun all the way through, and I had a great time discussing it.
From a sheer like surprise level of like, oh, this was a surprisingly fun time to have, I think that is the one that I have to point to, go like, this was more fun than I was expecting it to be out of anything that we got.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna agree with you there.
All right, and my MVP, I'm gonna give it to Cook. That drop kick was deeply, deeply satisfying. He comes out of nowhere, just nails in the head. It's a great moment.
I'm gonna have to give mine to Chrono for the emotions of the flashback, and of course, like the big demonstration of his power.
Oh, sure, there are emotions and a big flashback. The other one's a chicken kicking a guy in the face, and I don't know, one of those was very telegraphed, and it wasn't the chicken one.
Yeah. If he were a real wrestler, Quinn, he would have put him in the chicken wing. Come on.
Next, there's still time. There's still time. This might be a tag match.
There is time.
The audience, by the way, picked World Trigger as their chapter of the week and agreed with you, Crow, as the character of the week. It also looks like it tied with Ichi the Witch as chapter of the week as well. So, big fans of Ichi this week, which makes sense. It's a very big chapter.
And it's a very good series. Yeah. Well, that is going to do it, everybody. Hopefully we will have Yu-Gi-Oh! R next time to discuss. But I hope you all have a good one as we wrap things up here on Weekly Manga Recap. We post the episodes on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com if you want more. All the audio is uploaded there, as well as available through Spotify and iTunes and other podcast feeds. Video versions are uploaded to youtube.com/weeklymangarecap, which feature an opening sequence by Milo Jack Stillitz and Bree Cheddar, and occasionally have title cards by Steve Man, whose artwork you can find by just doing a search for Steve Man art. We are on social media, on BlueSky, Nick F. Time, Rollo T, Weekly Manga Recap, and also WMR Votes, the account that is run by Ninja X3i, who keeps track of all the MVP and favorite series voting. Be sure to participate in those polls when they're put up so that you can make your voice heard for the audience vote that we announce at the end of the show for our favorite chapter and MVP. We also have a Discord server, which is linked wherever the show is posted to, a wonderful community there that makes notes about us, like when we screw up and when we do and when we get things right, more rarely.
They never they never comment when I make mistakes because I don't think I make any.
Never. And it's just a great community there. You can also use that to find out when the show is going live. We stream from twitch.tv/RoloT. Currently, we are doing that Tuesdays starting between 7:30 and 8 Eastern Time. And we also have a Patreon, patreon.com/weeklymonk-recap if you want to help financially support the podcast and also get some bonus content through there. And I think that'll be everything. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Nick, I did think before we were leaving, like different people, like different like musical artists and like things like that will have like different names for their audiences, like Gaga's Little Monsters and stuff like that.
Right.
I think the podcast needs it because like every time we get to someone's Hertz and we reference the fact that there's like young kids in high school listening to this podcast and having romantic adventures over it and stuff like that, and we need a name to call them. And I just want to throw this out there. What do you think about apostles? Like we're religious following. Yeah, like there are apostles.
What the fuck?
I thought there's something kind of cool. Like you're all our apostles.
And we will be your big brother and big sister. So remember to address us as such at any time, and be sure to wear your custom weekly manga recap all white robe.
Look, no one's saying it has to be like cultish. Maybe it would be fun if it was a little cultish, but no one's saying it has to be a little cultish. I just think it'd be really cool to have a legion of apostles. Like, Jesus had 12. I know there are more than 12 people listening. So this is our opportunity, Nick, to finally be bigger than Jesus.
Who would he ever beat? All right. That's going to do it, everybody. Thank you. Bye.